Do not buy an online farm course until you watch this video because you probably don't need one. In this video, I'm going to talk about who I think should buy an online farm course and who I think shouldn't. My wife and I have been growing food together for 6 years, 3 of which have been through our farm business. We have a half-acre vegetable farm, and I've been seeing these online farm courses pop up. I'm very curious about them because they kind of seem like they have some secrets about how to grow food, and if you knew the secrets, you could take your farm business to another level. And so I've been curious about them, but when you look at the price tag, they're pretty expensive. Some of the more expensive ones can range between $2,000 and $3,000. And for where we're at in our farm business, we can't afford something like that. But last year, we actually won the Never Sink Farm course through a social media contest. So I had an opportunity to go through the course and just kind of check out what it was all about. And after going through the course, I can say that I didn't really find a whole lot of value in it for where we're at in our farming journey. And if I would have bought the course, honestly, I probably would have considered it a waste of money. And I'm going to tell you why. The information in it was either too basic. So we already know how to grow food and we've been doing it for quite some time. So that was kind of irrelevant, and then it was also too advanced. So a lot of it is about how to build the best hoop house and nursery and how to input an expensive irrigation system. And we don't own our own land. We're bootstrapped, so we don't have a ton of money to spend. So that information was also irrelevant. And then one thing I noticed was that to implement these farm systems like the Never Sink one, you have to buy all the tools and equipment. So without all the tools and equipment, you can't do the system. And like I said, where we're at, can't afford to make a huge investment like that. I didn't really find a whole lot of value in the course. Now, I'm not saying no one will find value in the course. There is actually a very specific person who I think would benefit a lot from an online course like that. And I'm going to explain to you the criteria for who I think should buy an online farm course. You should buy an online farm course if you're looking to switch careers and you're interested in starting a small scale farm. You don't want to take the time to gain the experience by, let's say, working a full season on a local farm. You just want to jump right in and you want to go fast. And you have at least $60,000 to invest in your farm business right off the bat. $60,000 is kind of like the bare minimum to buy all the tools and equipment and infrastructure for a farm system like the Never Sink one. You could actually probably spend a lot more than $60,000, but I think that's probably the minimum. I would also recommend that you use money from your savings account. I would not take out a loan to start a farm business because starting a farm business is very risky and it's hard to turn a profit in, and you don't want that kind of burden on you as you're trying to start a farm business. And lastly, you own your own land. So if you're going to invest in infrastructure, you should own your own land. So if you're looking to switch careers, you want to start a farm business fast, own your own land, and you have money to invest, then yes, you will find a ton of value in an online farm course. If you don't have money or you don't own land, then I would not recommend buying an online farm course. If you want to start a farm business though, I will give you my suggestions for what you can do. So if you want to start a farm business, you don't have a lot of money or land, the first thing you should do is gain the basic knowledge of growing. You can do that cheaply or for free. You don't need an online farm course to teach you the basics. You just have to go out and read the Market Gardener book, the Living Soil Handbook, and the New Organic Grower. I'd also recommend listening to podcasts. I really like the No-Till Growers, specifically the earlier seasons. There's a lot of good information there. And then YouTube. So there's pretty much a YouTube tutorial for everything. So if you need help with something, there's a ton of information on YouTube. So between books, podcasts, and YouTube, you can learn the basic knowledge of growing pretty much for free or for very cheaply. Number two, you need to gain experience. You need to just start growing food. So even if it's in a small raised bed on your property somewhere, you just need to start learning how to grow food. I would also highly recommend getting a job on a local farm for at least 1 or 2 seasons just to get an idea of how a farm operates and how it flows and what the different stages are like throughout the seasons, because you might find out that after a season of growing that you don't actually want to build a business around this. Getting a job on a farm is also a good way to get a mentor through your boss, which can be super helpful. I would also recommend volunteering on a few local farms just to get an idea of kind of how different farms are set up and what kind of equipment and infrastructure they have. 3, I would recommend eating locally and seasonally as much as you can. Go to the local farmers markets, go to the health food store if they sell local food, and get a sense for who is growing what and how they're selling it. One of the worst things you could do when starting a farm business is to grow what everyone else is growing and to sell it through the same sales channels as everyone else, because you'll be directly competing against farms who are way more established than you, and it'll be very difficult for you to make any money. And number 4, I would highly recommend learning about marketing, because when you start a farm business, it's not just a farm, it's also a business. And if you don't have any business knowledge, you're going to have a really hard time making money. And marketing is probably the number 1 business skill that you need. So I would recommend reading at least minimum 10 books on marketing. Don't skip this step, because marketing is the skill that you need to make money. And if you don't know how to make money, your farm business isn't going to do very well. So that's it. If you have the money and the land, go out and buy an online farm course. If you don't, you can just gain the knowledge and gain experience. You need to analyze your market for opportunities, for little niches you could fit into, and you need to understand marketing. If you found this video helpful or valuable, I have a whole playlist on the topic of how to make money farming. So go to my channel, check it out, binge watch those, because there just might be a gem in there that could transform your whole farm business.